The second lesson is in using watercolor paper to make your circular shape and then leaving the watercolor paper in the fabric and in your quilt as you proceed with the layering and quilting. And this is an example. You can see I've done a lot of very small holes and then some bigger ones. Hole punches make a specific size of circle. It's 1/4 inch in diameter, and that's what these smaller holes represent. I also occasionally use a circular template that you could pick up at an office supply store or an art store. It has everything from very tiny circles to quite large circles, and I use that to draw a circle on the background if this is too small or the coin is too big. Then I have a choice of different size circles to make. The hole punch technique was suggested by Jody Warner in her pattern for the reindeer quilt, which was displayed earlier on the blog. And all you do is punch out a piece of watercolor paper that is 1/4 inch in diameter. Watercolor paper is high cotton content and acid-free, so it will not harm your fabric. I have quilts that have had watercolor paper in them for up to 20 years at this point, and there has been no damage to the fabric, either the top fabric or the background fabric. Similar fashion to making the covered coin, you cut a small circle of your fashion fabric. And as I said before, it doesn't have to be a perfect circle, something that approximates a circle for covering the paper shape. And in a similar fashion to covering your coin, you run a running stitch close to the perimeter of your fabric with a nice sharp applique needle. Once again, things always go awry when I'm being filmed, but close to the perimeter of your fabric. And once again, put your paper shape in the center and draw the gathers up around it. When you leave the paper in, you don't need to cut the thread. So this is ready to be applied to the background fabric now. Tiny circles like this are useful for making berries on smaller quilts, eyes on animals, and as you apply it in the same fashion, you don't have to cut the thread as you did on the previous one, because you're going to leave the paper in, but you do want to, if you come to any bumps, tuck them under, come to any loose threads, anything like that, just kind of tuck them under with your needle, but working with a blind stitch around your shape, you apply this very tiny covered circle to your background fabric. You probably hear my cat. This is Barney. He likes to be in the center of whatever I'm doing. He got his name because he'd been abandoned at a barn, and he is just the nicest cat. There we go. And take the needle through to the back. It's completely applied to the background, and I knot it off. And clip. So you can see the difference between the two types of applique for perfect circles. This is the stuffed berry, has a mounded sense to it, and it is just a very nice circle, and once it's quilted around, it will rise up from the fabric and be quite textural. This is a watercolor paper that lays flatter on the background fabric, and even when it's quilted around, it still remains quite flat, even though it has a nice texture as you run your hands over it.